So, you ever had the situation where old people would say, the music today isn't good? The music of yesterday, that was good music, and now the quality of music has declined and bad music is considered good. See, with every generation of people, art changes. And art is a reflection of the society we are in. And I think a lot of times people can't adjust to the changes in art because art reflects reality. Now, why I say this is because when I look at the critics' assessment of certain movies in cinema and their basic, what they think are the criteria to make a good movie, I see inflexibility, I see inconsistency. Most of the people who said that Suicide Squad was a bad movie gave the grounds for what they said based on the fact that they think going to movies is a form of escapism. And I actually read an article by one such critic or reviewer, etc., commenter for a major magazine online. And he was arguing that, the Suicide Squad was reflecting reality. And why would people go to the cinema to see reality, which they're trying to run from, escapism? What this guy fails to understand is art is not there for us to escape. Art is a form of entertainment, and movies and films are a form of entertainment. And art and entertainment actually is there to be able to reflect the reality that we're in. And that's what makes it convincing. That's what makes it something that people can delve into and dive into. And how this reality is expressed changes with times and seasons. And so if you are someone who's rigid and inflexible to understand the times you live in and the seasons you live in and the generations of people, then you will hold on to certain formulas for portraying entertainment. Remember, what makes a good film is when it can engage an audience and entertain them. The whole purpose of the industry, the filmmaking industry, is for entertainment. It isn't for political agendas, social agendas. Those come secondary to the entertainment factor. For instance, when I look at how the critics assess Suicide Squad as bland, empty, gloomy, and dreary, it sounds almost like the same critiques as Batman v Superman. And it shows me their inflexibility and that they can't see past certain criteria. Not only was Suicide Squad a commentary on our times and our reality, but in a form of humor mixed with action, mixed with storytelling, was able to depict the reality of the psychology of our times in the form of villains, the worst of our kinds. Let's be clear on this. Suicide Squad was a box office hit not because of critical reception or not because even of what critics would consider the different criteria for good filmmaking. It was a success and a good film because it adjusted to the times. And just like how old folks would say that music in the old times is good, but the music today is bad, so some of these critics lost in a time loop and a time warp, not able to see through time and adjust to time as the art itself is adjusting to time, are incapable of seeing a good movie as being just that. And so they label this movie dismal, bad, abysmal, horrible, clumsy, sloppy, poorly edited. not understanding the times they live in and the generations that would receive this film very easily. Because, as with all things, art changes with time, and the realities it reflects, unless you are flexible to be able to adjust to those realities, you are incapable of seeing the value in them when it's time to see the value in them. That's why the critics are not very reliable when we deal with very highly creative movies. For all their so-called expertise in looking at avant-garde films and foreign films and indie films and films that press the boundaries of their genre, apparently cutting-edge films these critics will never value very highly. This year we had Deadpool, a film which was basically a classical spoof on certain realities in the comic book industry, especially superheroes. And critics lapped that up, but because it was a classical spoof. However, when someone goes in a sort of different way, pushing boundaries and storytelling in a different manner, they are incapable of adjusting their narrow-mindedness and their inflexibility to that method of storytelling, to which the majority of people are lapping it up. I would suggest to Warner Brothers as well as to DC that they continue along that line, that people will have to adjust to that style, especially the older ones. The younger ones already engaging with it and playing with it. This younger generation doesn't learn through some classical route. They learn through experience. Their acumen in learning about the internet and knowing all about it and moving very quickly forward shows the difference in how they think and process reality to how older people of older generations process reality. And people who grow up playing video games, grow up with the internet at their disposal, born into it, raised into it, see things a lot differently to the people today who grew up on books, going to school, in a rigid system where certain rules were set down. It's no longer that way. So, you find the younger generations more receiving Superman than the older, inflexible generations. The younger generations lapping up comic books, but seeing them and the comic books themselves designed to deal with the younger generations. Where the older generations value certain precepts and morals, the younger generation is more flexible with these things. Times are changing, and if you can't adjust with the times, you'll be left like a fossil. While certain things are true and will remain cornerstones of truth, make no mistake, if you cannot adjust to the art form of entertainment in film industry and music, you will be left behind as a fossil. You guys have a great one.